During Tesla's Q2 earning report, Elon Musk announced that Tesla could become a $20 trillion company. But what's the path to get there? It's not what you might think. Traditionally, Tesla has been an electric vehicle company, but it's evolving. It's evolving into autonomous vehicles and robots, of course, accompanied by the sophisticated AI models that Tesla employs. But in this world of autonomy and robots and AI, where does that leave us as humans? Today we're going to talk about it. Today we're going to go deep into the earnings report. We're going to talk specifically focusing on autonomous vehicles and their impact on humanity, because it is here right now. I don't want to jump ahead of myself too quickly, but Tesla rolled out self-driving vehicles in Austin last month, and now they're expanding. They're expanding it to San Francisco and other areas of the country. So again, we're going to get into all the details today. And if you are interested in keeping up and staying relevant, if you're a man who wants to be relevant, respected, and financially free, this is the time to hit subscribe, because I'm coming to you daily, Monday through Saturday. On Sunday, we rest, boys. On Sunday, we rest. So how do we get there? Let's talk about the Q2 earnings report. So Tesla's revenue for the quarter was $22.5 billion, which is down 12% year over year. But they do have a lot of cash on hand. They've got about $36.8 billion of cash on hand. Now, what I think is promising, and by the way, I'm not going to get political here, but obviously the political climate and the beef that's happening with the Trump administration, Elon, is certainly going to impact their profitability in some ways. On the flip side, obviously there was a lot of vandalism, there were a lot of problems that Tesla ran into because of Elon's support for the president. So it's kind of funny. He was getting hurt by the people that don't like Trump, and then he gets hurt by Trump in the same quarter. Kind of a wild quarter for Elon. He might want to, I would think he'd want to take a break from politics, but instead he's talking about starting up his own political party. So in any event, the revenue was down. They've got lots of cash on hand, but I think the shining light here for Tesla and for Elon is that their other services were up 17%. So they're starting to find different streams of revenue. And if I had to kind of summarize the Q2 earning report in one word, it would be innovation, or maybe evolution. It's not sitting on the same, it's not focusing on what got them to where they are today. It's what's going to get them to the next level, which quite frankly is something that I think is key for us as men right now. You know, it's not what got you to where you're at, it's what's going to get you to the next level, right? In any event, how are they making money? The other services include things like the Tesla service centers, charging stations, full self-driving subscriptions, which are up dramatically, and other premium connectivity like internet access and streaming, merchandise, Tesla insurance, and financing. So all these services are up. I think probably the biggest one, and the one I want to really focus on in today's video, is the full self-driving, because I think it's absolutely fascinating. And you know, the only full self-driving that I have now is when my wife actually drives the car, which is almost never. I'm always driving. And I don't dislike driving. However, if I could take all my driving and just have my car do it for me, that gives me so much more productivity. I can actually sit on my phone and get work done, send out emails. I mean, it would be a huge time saver. Be a huge time saver. So I'm definitely into the full self-driving option. What's also interesting is Musk really urged the investors to focus on a future filled with robots. A future filled with robots. And he expects that within the next 5 years, they're going to be pumping out 100,000 Optimus robots per month. 100,000 robots per month. I'm going to record an entire video on Optimus because I think it's really, really fascinating, this Jetsons type of world that we're going to be walking into, and there's a lot of pros and cons there. Today we're going to focus on full self-driving, autonomous vehicles. In any event, that's what he sees the future looking like. And again, to quote Elon, he says a valuation of $20 trillion for Tesla is possible with extreme execution on autonomy and robots. So again, full self-driving is a big part of this. Robots are a big part of this. But this had me thinking, I'm going to go check out my portfolio, my investment portfolio. What does it actually mean for my portfolio? And so get this is pretty crazy. So right now Tesla shares are trading at $302. And they, it always fluctuates, but let's say it's at $300 and at a cap of about 985 billion. Okay, so you're looking at $300. Now, if with some quick napkin math here, if Tesla gets up to a $20 trillion valuation at 3.226 billion shares, that's $6,200 per share, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, if I could buy in at $300 and I could cash out at 6,000, that's nuts. Those are like Bitcoin numbers. Shout out to all my Bitcoin lovers out there. I'm not a huge crypto guy and all these like little meme coins and all that's happening out there. Like the Alex Beckers of the world are obsessed with. Mazel tov, by the way. I think that's cool. That's fun. Big Bitcoin lover, and I've seen insane returns since I started investing in Bitcoin 5, 6, 7 years ago. But in any event, whenever I'm going into my Robinhood app to trade Tesla and buy Tesla and whatnot, I'm always like, it's kind of expensive. What's going to happen? There's all this political stuff. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's this is not financial advice, but don't bet against Elon, man. That guy is very special, very special. So let's talk about what some of the key accomplishments for Q2 were. So Q2 is marked as a quote unquote seminal point in Tesla's shift towards AI and autonomy, with a significant progress in its RoboTaxis and full self-driving mode. Quick story here on full self-driving, because I think a lot of people don't really fully comprehend or understand what's happening with full self-driving mode. Before I moved here to the Tampa Bay area, I was part of a daddy-daughter camping troupe. And one of the dads in there had a Cybertruck. And at our last camp out, I was talking to him about it. He said that his Cybertruck drove him all the way from South Florida to Central Florida. He did not have to do anything. It drove him the whole freaking way. Another story. Back before I got into AI and marketing, consulting, creation, I was in insurance. I was managing an insurance agency for a very large company that you've heard of it. Managing this insurance agency, and one of my clients at the time had a Tesla, and he had his Tesla drive him from Naples and park in his garage in Coral Springs, Florida, all by itself. He did nothing. It drove him the whole way and parked. And that was probably about 5 years ago it did that. So full self-driving is a huge deal, super cool. And a lot of the critics think that, it's too dangerous. We need humans behind the wheel. To which I say, have you seen the way that humans drive? Have we seen the way that humans drive? Maybe it's just me living in Florida, but I think that bad drivers exist everywhere. That is a commonality of humans. And again, we're gonna actually talk data and statistics on crash numbers here in just a moment. But if you agree that humans in general are not great drivers, smash the like and subscribe button. Let's like and subscribe for bad drivers. Another cool accomplishment for Q2 was the first autonomous customer delivery. A Model Y drove itself 30 miles from the factory right to the owner. So that's pretty cool. You don't need Amazon to drop off your car. The car will come deliver itself right to you. I think that's pretty slick, and that's a big accomplishment. I'm sure they had a employee in the car. That's one of the things that's happening with Tesla. Tesla's method of full self-driving is purely visual. It's using visuals, so it's a slightly different model from the way that Waymo operates. But as a result, or for whatever reason, all their rollouts, all their RoboTaxi rollouts, all their autonomous vehicles do require a human there as a safety, which, okay, I'm cool with that. That makes sense. Their full self-driving cumulative miles hit over 4.5 billion, and the adoption of full self-driving is up 25% since the version 12 release. Their subscriptions are up 45%. Now, at this point, from the data that I could gather, only 50% of Tesla owners are using full self-driving mode, and Elon on X this past week stated that that is like one of the top priorities at Tesla. One of the top priorities at Tesla is getting all Tesla owners, all Tesla drivers on the full self-driving mode. Again, I think a lot of people are just kind of afraid to let a computer control that, maybe they watched a movie like How the World Ends, or, they think, oh, the robot's going to stop in the middle of the road, which, I mean, these are all valid concerns. But again, and we're going to talk about this in just a moment, when you look at the data, the autonomous vehicle is actually way safer than probably you are, or at least the average driver. The other big item, the other big accomplishment was the Optimus robot. And they're, kind of they're forecasting what they're doing with the Optimus robot. They've got prototypes expected within this next quarter, and then production starting in 2026. And then, as I mentioned before, within the next 5 years, they're pumping out 100,000 of these every month. The other cool thing that is planning to roll out, and again, this isn't actually a key accomplishment, it's more of an announcement, is that owners are going to be able to add their own, Tesla owners are going to be able to add their own cars to a robo fleet as early as next year. At least that's their target. With full self-driving and autonomous vehicles, it's not just a matter of the technology being safe, it's about getting around regulations, both city, state, and national, and then international. So there's a lot of red tape to get these cars out on streets. And then, you factor in like personalities and egos and like Elon versus Trump and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of drama, but to me, once you start looking at the numbers, and I know I keep laying this up, when you look at the numbers on safety and how bad drivers are and how convenient it's going to be to have a RoboTaxi, it's to me, it's inevitable. Just like Thanos, it is inevitable. So let's talk about the RoboTaxi program. And again, this is kind of what I really want to hit on, is the autonomous vehicles, the RoboTaxis. I think this is fascinating. So the Tesla RoboTaxi program officially launched last month in June of 2025. It was very limited, only to shareholders, employees, Tesla owners, and influencers. Now, there were only about 20 Model Ys, and only within a small geofenced area. Now, every Tesla additionally had a safety monitor. So there was a Tesla employee in the car, in the RoboTaxi, just to make sure it didn't go haywire. And there was some stuff that you saw like RoboTaxi stopping in the middle of the road and things of that nature, dropping people off at weird places. Again, this is a beta program, guys. There's only 20 of them out there, and there's all these different protocols in place to try to stop. So, that's part of it. Of course, in Elon trolling fashion, it was only $4.20 to ride. So shout out to the meme master himself. However, it was successful, I think, is the long and the short of it. It was successful. And now Tesla is expanding to a much larger Austin area. And this weekend, they're rolling it out in San Francisco. So can't stop, never stopping. The RoboTaxi exceeded over 7,000 miles without any critical interventions. And their plan is to expand to 50% of the US population by the end of this year. It's pending approvals in states like Nevada, Arizona, and the home of the free, the land of the brave, or the land of the brave, the home of the free, Florida. It's coming here to Florida. So we've got these RoboTaxis that are going to be all over the place. Elon Musk, and I quote, said autonomous ride hailing could cover half the US population by the end of 2025, subject to regulatory approvals, just like we said. But let's look at the human impact here. And again, that's really what I'm focused on this channel, is how can we support men? How can I support men so that we can feel relevant, respected, and be financially free? Because in a world where men are being replaced by robots, and by the way, nothing against women, but let's face it, most of the taxi cab drivers that pick you up, most of the Uber drivers that pick you up are men. I don't ride in taxi often, but I don't know if I've ever been picked up by a woman. It just doesn't happen. So I think this is going to impact a lot more men who are providing for their families, who are working those extra hours, they're doing tough work. But B, as men, we put a lot of our value in our work, and our wives and our families require us, need us to bring home the bacon. We are hunter-gatherers. And the problem, guys, is that when AI starts replacing jobs at the scale we're going to look at, you're going to have a very difficult time feeling that respect and that love from the people that rely on you most. And that, my friends, is not being talked about enough. The world needs men big time, big time. Don't get me into fatherlessness and the impact that fathers have on their children. It is big time, boys. It is big time. Even Obama talked about that. At any rate, human impact. Uber and Lyft has about 1.5 to 2 million drivers in the US now, with a median pay of about $36,600. Most of these drivers are gonna be part-time, so you get off your primary job, you pop on your Uber app, and you just start going to work, make some extra cash. Pretty respectable. And 1.5 million. And I'm reading stats that over the next 30 years, these autonomous vehicles could replace almost all of them, with ride hailing, and taxi drivers hit the hardest. And I mean, we're looking at huge numbers globally. There's about 20 million drivers globally that could be replaced. And I gotta say, I was reading an article from Axios, and I gotta say, like, in a world of AI, being able to think critically, I think, is really important. But because what these AI bots are doing is they're just aggregating all this data and all this information. And sometimes you read something, you're like, that's insane. That cannot be true. And I've read this article from Axios, and basically the premise of the article was that, yes, autonomous vehicles are coming. Yes, they're more efficient. Yes, it's happening, but it's not going to impact human drivers negatively. I'm just thinking to myself, what the hell are you talking about? And this is what it says. It says reality check. And I'm quoting this right from the Axios article. I'll put a link to the article down below so you can read it. It says, cashiers aren't going away. Neither are factory workers or Uber drivers. I was just blown away by this reality check, because when I used to go to Walmart, there were 25 lanes, and each one of those lanes had a human in them. Now when I go to Walmart, there are 3 to maybe 5 humans, and everybody else is doing self-checkout. It's the same at Publix. It's the same at basically anywhere that Target. What the hell are you guys talking about? When I read something like that, it's insane to me. It's insane to me. And I'll put a link to this video. I actually talked about what Amazon is doing in their factories and their warehouses and how they're automating away human jobs. Guys, when I read something like this from Axios, it's unbelievable. Like, the credibility that you're losing when you post stuff like this. I mean, you just have to use your brain. Like, am I crazy here? It seems to be insane that you can start to look at the numbers of how much automation is happening and how all the layoffs that are happening and say, what, humans aren't going to be impacted. This is not a big issue. And then when people come and watch my videos and say stuff like, quit inciting people or quit fear mongering, let me be clear. I don't want to be seen as a fear mongerer. My goal with a video like this is to wake you up, help you pay attention, maybe help you decide to make a move or to plan for the future. This is not it's going to be easy and buy my online course and you're going to be rich. That's not what I'm talking about here. When I look at the numbers, what I'm talking about is that if you don't wake up and start adapting, upskilling, investing, finding opportunities now, you might wake up without any opportunities at all. That's it. So you can flame or hate all you want, but this is in particular, as I mentioned before, very, very impactful towards men who are relied upon by their families to provide, by their mothers and fathers, by their wives and children, by their communities, by their churches. We have an obligation and responsibility to do this. And if we are unable to do that, we're not going to be capable of feeling love and respect, which is vital. Every single man, not to say that women don't, but men in particular need to feel respected. Without respect, we do not feel love. Okay? Without going on a huge tangent, because this stuff fires me up. Axios, you guys are nuts. If you don't think this is going to impact human jobs, I don't know what to tell you. You guys need to go back to journalism school or quit journalisming altogether. What's also interesting here is that when we start looking at these types of jobs, they're going to have a particular impact on low-skilled workers, right? These are people without college degrees who rely on these roles for maybe slightly above average pay, 20, 25 bucks an hour, which is interesting to me as well because AI, when I think about what AI is doing in the marketplace, it's primarily hitting the college-educated, white-collar type of jobs. When you look at something like this is going to be the lower-skilled workers. And I believe that every human being has innate, immense value. However, not everybody is overly intelligent. Not a lot of people are paying attention. And a lot of people are going to need these lower-skilled jobs, like driving a taxi, in order to provide for their family, in order to give a better life to their family. And I think that there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of dignity in that. The problem, though, for these types of people is they're going to have a much more difficult time upskilling. So what happens to them? What happens? This is not going to be the type of person is traditionally that's going to say like, oh, well, I'm going to learn software engineering or database management. It's going to be a difficult transition. So I don't know exactly the answer to that yet, but I can say that if you are in one of these roles, you should be starting to think about what are some other ways that I can evolve and expand on what I'm doing. And certainly you want to be saving money and investing wisely. So anyway, these are some of the negative human impacts. What are some of the positives? There will be new jobs: vehicle monitoring, data analysis, fleet management, testing, maintenance. There's going to be a ton of new types of jobs. And I think this is important to understand. This is what I keep saying, guys, over and over and over again, telling blue in the face. Jobs will be lost. Jobs will be created. If you are not understanding how these new jobs operate, if you don't have the skills to operate these new jobs, you will not be able to find clients for your business. You will not be able to find work professionally. The other benefit here, which I think is pretty cool, is there is passive income opportunities for Tesla owners. I mean, can you just think, and my wife would never do this, by the way. She would never let a stranger get into her car. But for me, I would say while I'm sleeping, my Tesla is rolling around Tampa Bay making money. I think that's pretty freaking sweet. I'd be in on that. And of course, you have insurance, you have their financing. So if some schlub gets in there and starts, doing drugs, smoking meth, vandalizing it, you're going to have insurance coverage. At any event, I like passive income. The more passive income opportunities and streams I have, the better. Cheaper rides. The more automation, less human capital involved, the cheaper the rides will be. That's another benefit. And this is something that I teed up at the beginning that I at least want to touch on, is a lot of critics say that, well, I don't want my car to be self-driving because I'm a good driver. I'm a better driver. Guys, that's not what the data show. Tesla reported vehicles using full self-driving mode recorded one crash every 6.69 million miles versus human drivers that crash every 702,000 miles. And that's the average. The average Tesla driver is going to be safer. The average Tesla driver is going to be able to drive more miles than that. But regardless, you're seeing full self-driving is about 7 times safer than a human driver. So that's pretty compelling, right? Pretty compelling. Now, Elon did mention during the Q2 call that there are a few rough quarters ahead, specifically due to tariffs, EV credit expiration, electric vehicle credit expiration, regulatory delays, declining regulatory credits. Basically saying Trump and I aren't homies anymore, so it might be a little bit rough. In any event, I wouldn't bet against Elon. Super smart guy, lots of infrastructure, in the right place at the right time when it comes to owning Grok for data analysis, owning X for distribution, owning Tesla for electronic vehicles and robots. He's got it all. He's got it all in one place at one time. Plus SpaceX, plus Starlink. He's just got all this infrastructure across all these different areas. So in conclusion, look guys, the Q2 report does show some short-term pain, but under the surface, it's just a straight up pivot. It's showing a straight up full pivot to autonomy, AI, and RoboTaxis. That's it. It's a full on, and you know, there is going to be some pain there, but long term, I just can't see that not working out. There will be millions of Optimus robots in homes, businesses. It's a massive shift with completely unforeseen circumstances. I'll record an entire video on this because I think that's fascinating, but it's going to happen. And I would just encourage you to be thinking about these things, investing where you feel is appropriate. Not financial advice, but generally speaking, if you're investing money wisely, it's going to do a lot more for you in the long run. And you know, last thought here is don't bury your heads in the sand, because this stuff is happening. Yesterday, I recorded an entire video on what's happening with Amazon and their implementation of AI at the H-1B visa program to find great talent, and in some cases replace talent. Hundreds, if not thousands of people have watched this video at this time. Check it out. I think you'll find it really fascinating when you start to see what's actually happening in the job market and how AI is impacting that market. Again, thanks for watching, subscribing. I'll catch you in the next one.